We all know that the undisputed champion when it comes to lake sizes in Africa is Lake Victoria. But what if I told you that there is another lake just in the neighborhood that absolutely knocks it out if you include other metrics of measurement? So Lake Victoria is the undisputed champion when it comes to surface area, and that is the portions of the lake that we can see with our eyes and that we can easily interact with. But when it comes to depth, Lake Victoria is actually the shallowest great lake in Africa. So at its deepest part, it is only 84 meters deep. Now contrast that to Lake Tanganyika, which in as much as in the surface area category, it is not the largest lake out there. It is actually more than 17 times deeper than Lake Victoria at 1.4 kilometers deep. What else is different? So we know that depth determines volume. We have all gone through a mathematics class. So after factoring in all those complicated mathematics, you find that Lake Tanganyika has a higher volume than Lake Victoria. And it is not just by a small factor. It is actually by a lot. Because Lake Victoria has around 2,700 square kilometers of water by volume. But Lake Tanganyika has around 18,000 square kilometers of water by volume. So that means that Lake Tanganyika has around 9 times as much water as Lake Victoria. So there is another metric that Tanganyika beats out Lake Victoria with, and that is the length. So Lake Tanganyika actually holds the world record for being the longest freshwater inland lake, and it is around 670 kilometers long. Yet Lake Victoria is around 350 kilometers long on its longest side. Just to prove that Lake Tanganyika is quite long, it touches on two countries that cannot credibly call themselves neighbors, and that is Burundi and Zambia. So it runs all the way from Burundi to Zambia along the borderline between Tanzania and DRC. And just as an extra nugget of fact, did you know that Tanzania and DRC do not actually share a land border? Its entire border runs along the median line of Lake Tanganyika. So that makes Lake Tanganyika quite long, being that both Tanzania and DRC are not small countries by any measure. So what is the practical implication of all these metrics that I've mentioned? So because Lake Victoria is large and shallow, there is a lot of water mixing, and also because it is shallow, the sunshine reaches the bottom, so it heats up the lake, so it becomes warmer. As a result of this warm, well-mixed and well-oxygenated water, then it has large numbers of large fishes, and that is the Nile perch and the tilapia, whereas it does not really lack in small fishes because it has omena. On the other hand, Lake Tanganyika does not fare that badly. So because Lake Tanganyika is deep, then it does not have a lot of well-oxygenated and warm water at the bottom, because there is no mixing and the sunshine does not reach the bottom. So the bottom half of the lake is almost lifeless, but the top half is very vibrant and still has a very large volume of water, and also spans a large geographical area, meaning it is exposed to varying climatic conditions. So as a result, what Lake Tanganyika wins in is the diversity of species that it has. So it has a large number of this type of fishes called the kitchlits, and this large number is actually a world record of the largest diversity of fishes in a freshwater lake in the world. So that being said, both these lakes are interesting because they contribute large quantities of water to the Africa's largest rivers. So Lake Victoria contributes a lot of water to River Nile, and Lake Tanganyika contributes a lot of water to the Congo River through its tributary which drains out of the lake called Lake Lukunga. So the final interesting point that I want to make is that Tanzania is quite lucky because it boasts hosting these two lakes that I've discussed today. Tanzania is the only country in Africa which can boast to have the largest lake in Africa, as well as the deepest and the most voluminous lake in Africa. Now you know. Thank you.